And hopefully I can hold this steady.
Cool. Trying to think if there's anything I can stick this on. Probably not.
Okay. All right. Hi.
Hi,
What's your name?
my name is Charles Hoover.
And Charles Hoover. Whose grandpa are you?
Pardon me?
Whose grandpa are you?
Lots of people, about 7 people, you for one.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in Basin, Wyoming? What year were you born?
1917.
And can you just kind of describe maybe your childhood, up to the point of about World War II? Just even anything that, a general overview.
Well, of course, the most significant thing during that time, from the point where I can remember anything, was the Depression and the effects of it. In that town, a lot of people were helping neighbors, but, pardon me, you couldn't get through without it. For instance, my father was a music teacher, and when you couldn't pay for things, the music lessons was probably the first thing you would drop. So business wasn't good at all, but he did do teaching in a barter fashion. We got farm products. I remember getting a half of beef. I remember getting a half of pork, and of course eggs and milk in exchange for lessons. The income in dollars was essentially zero at that time. The thing that happened, well, I'm starting to mention the way neighbors helped. For instance, our next door neighbor had to raise 2 children. Her husband was an invalid. She took in washing, and the town gave her the electricity and water. They took the meter out and just made a direct connection, so she could run her washing machine and her irons. And that's how she made a living. The grocery store, just from all I can remember, just allowed us to run up an endless bill. I know we never did pay them off. The baker made available the pastries and bread that was outdated, a couple of days old, and you could come in and help yourself. So these were all helps in survival. But the thing that I remember most vividly is when Roosevelt was elected. Immediately, there were big changes. There was the bank holiday. Every bank in the country was closed. Some opened, some reopened, and some did not. In our town, they did not. My parents lost everything they had in the bank. But there were programs put in place that you would call job-making programs these days. The Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, my brother went into that. They built a lot of infrastructure. They built the Appalachian Trail. He was in New Mexico. I'm not really sure what the group down there did. But many, many young men that were of working age joined the CCCs. It was a sort of a quasi-military outfit. It was run by military personnel, and they lived in barracks-like structures, but they were civilians and retained all their civilian rights. There was a farm subsidy program initiated, and I worked in an office for that, where we helped farmers estimate what next year's crops would be, what their feed requirements were, and worked out the subsidy level for them to be able to keep growing crops. And of course, there was the WPA, Work Projects Administration, which was in for a lot of criticism because a lot of what they did was so make work that it really wasn't productive. I had the job for several weeks of raking rocks off the street. The streets in the town are gravel, they were not paved. And that sort of thing received a lot of criticism, and of course, many of these programs were shut down eventually. But they were the turning point. And with that, people started to regain their financial foothold. And so in my own case, I was working on a couple of rather meager jobs. I was projectionist in a theater in the evening. In the daytime, I was a clerk in the post office. The two jobs worked nicely against one another. But I had taken a civil service exam, and I got an opportunity to go to Washington and work in the federal government. That carried me up to World War II. I was working for the Army as a civilian, and I waited for the draft because I was taking care of my mother, and had I enlisted, she would have been left completely awash. As it was, since I was drafted, she got an allowance that enabled her to continue. And that takes us up to World War II.
Thank you.